Good afternoon. Today is February 26th, and welcome to the bill hearings of the Ways and Means Committee. I will just say we look a little bare bones, but that's because people are out testifying on their own bills and joint hearings and the like. First, we have House Bill 1343, and Josh Paper, come on up because Delegate Jones cannot be with us today. Whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Good afternoon. For the record, I am not Delegate Dana Jones. My name is Josh, and I'm here presenting on her. She got stuck in appropriations this afternoon. Chair Atterbury, Vice Chair Wilkins, and members of the Ways and Means Committee, I come before you today to introduce House Bill 1343, Anne Arundel County Property Tax Daycare Centers and Child Care Centers. This legislation would expand the authority of Anne Arundel County to grant property tax credits to owners of licensed large child care homes. As we know, Maryland is facing a child care crisis. Many families lack child care altogether, and those that do have child care pay exorbitant monthly rates. This causes significant economic harm to Maryland families, especially women, who are not able to access or can't afford it. A 2024 report outlined a clear link between access to affordable and quality child care with an increased labor participation rate. Anne Arundel County has not been spared from this crisis, especially our communities with the most need. Low and very low income neighborhoods across the county in Annapolis, Glen Burnie, Meade, Severn, Brooklyn Park, and South County are the areas with the most limited child care access. Access to child care is essential to ensuring access to work opportunities across our county, but especially in these areas. HB 1343 provides Anne Arundel County with a tool to ease provider costs to address this crisis. In your floor system, you'll see favorable testimony from the County Executive's Office and unanimous support from the delegation. With that, I respectfully request a favorable report on House Bill 1343.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. That concludes the hearing on House Bill 1343. Delegate Chi, House Bill 1280.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Madam Vice Chair. I first want to say thank you for indulging me again. This is my fourth and fifth bill in front of Ways and Means, and I apologize for adding so much work to this great committee. I'm Delegate Lily Chi, here to present HB 1280, Unaffiliated Voters, which is a bill that you have heard multiple years. So this is nothing new, and I have to keep sounding like a broken record because this is deeply important to me and the communities I work with and the district I represent, but also increasingly our entire state of Maryland, all across whether they are rural, urban, or red and blue counties. This bill is a small lift to simply allow unaffiliated voters to affiliate with a party during early voting time when we still allow in-person voter registration, so they may meaningfully participate in our all-important primary elections. The facts are overwhelmingly in favor of this bill. First of all, independent voters now account for 900,000 and growing in the state of Maryland, with 30% of new registered voters considered independent. It's larger than any county's registered voting population. If we were to design a new election system today, we probably would never design one that would lock almost 1 million registered voters out of the elections that matter. Second, unaffiliated voters are disproportionately new Americans like me, young voters, or other first-time voters. Aren't they the very population that we want to encourage in civic engagement through voting? This bill gives us an opportunity to practice what we preach. Third, we have done so much over the years to incrementally make our election system more democratic and inclusive, like expanding voting hours and early voting centers, making mail-in voting permanent, automatic voter registration, and even same-day voter registration. But the people who can vote are still the same. So why not actually make our election system itself more friendly to more voters? Fourth, when more people can vote, we make our politics less divisive and elected officials more interested in listening to different sides. And finally, elections are funded by all taxpayers. Whatever we can do to make our election system more inclusive and easier is a step toward a stronger democracy and civic engagement. So for all these reasons and more, including the strong support from many civic organizations that promote civic and political engagement, like League of Women Voters, et cetera, even now, now even including business communities, I hope we can do something to improve our current system. If the committee believes there are better ways, you are welcome to, butcher this bill any way you want. But the idea is to send a message to the people who do not like to affiliate with parties or find it cumbersome to take a two-step process because currently the deadline is 3 weeks before election day, et cetera. Let's send a message that we actually want them to vote as much as possible. So with that, thank you very much for your consideration.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Delegate Wims?
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for bringing the bill. I was looking through, but I wanted to ask, when you said you have this community, was Committee for Montgomery one of the people that support this bill?
That's a great question. So historically, the Committee for Montgomery, which is Montgomery County's primary civic engagement organization made up of all factions of the community, pushed for a blue ribbon commission many years ago to study open primary. This bill does not call for open primary. It's a very small, narrow ask to say, while we still allow people to register in person, which is during early voting time, we should also allow people to re-register if they are unaffiliated.
Okay.
So if I am a registered voter, but I didn't register for a party, I should be able to go to a voting center during early voting time and re-register to pick a party so I can participate in elections that matter, which is the closed primary elections in Maryland.
Thank you. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Yep, Delegate Young?
Madam Chair, my question is for council, just to get some clarity. If a registered voter in this circumstance was an independent, came to early vote, came to election day, registered to vote, or rather changed their registration, is it true that they would be able to submit a provisional ballot at that time?
If they're not previously registered and they're taking advantage of same-day registration, then yes, they could choose a party affiliation and vote either during early voting or on election day.
But if
Only if they're not previously, only if they're unregistered and are taking advantage of same-day registration.
Understood, right. So unaffiliated, they cannot. That's why I wanted to get clarity. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. That concludes the hearing on House Bill 1280. Delegate Chi, House Bill 1332.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair and Madam Vice Chair. Again, I'm Delegate Lily Chi here to present HB 1332, which is about the Glenstone Foundation's tax exemption status. HB 1332 seeks to exempt the Glenstone Foundation from property taxes on the parts of their property that are used exclusively for environmental conservation purposes. Glenstone is a contemporary art museum in my district that provides free access to over 300 acres of landscape that includes meadows, forests, streams, and outdoor sculptures. If you have never visited Glenstone, I highly recommend that you check it out. You would never imagine that in the heart of Potomac, there is this huge piece of sanctuary for wildlife and nature conservancy. It's not just an indoor museum. It's a complete immersive experience like none other. One important aspect of Glenstone's mission is its ongoing commitment to environmental stewardship and conservation. Their projects support county and the state sustainability goals and set a precedent for responsible land management practices. For instance, through their environmental efforts, they have planted over 13,000 native trees and thousands of shrubs, promoting biodiversity and enhancing our local ecosystems. And they have undertaken the largest privately funded stream restoration efforts in Maryland. to reduce stormwater runoff to the Potomac River. And they have engaged in composting, organic landscaping, and innovative water conservation measures, including nearly 1 million gallons of rainwater storage capacity. So these efforts deliver a variety of public benefits. However, these areas have been classified as vacant by SDET in their tax assessment, despite Glenstone's efforts to promote sustainability, environmental conservation, and wildlife habitat. There is a precedent for other organizations that already have recognized exemptions for similar purposes and work that they do. These include the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, the Isaac Wharton League, Maryland Ornithological Society, the Nature Conservancy, and the Scouts. The exemptions would have very negligible fiscal impact on the state and the county. It's like maybe $76,000 for Montgomery County in terms of property tax revenue. And it would recognize and encourage the important work that the Glenstone Foundation does for the community and our state and the region. It's a true asset, not just for the state of Maryland, but for our entire DMV area. Additionally, this bill seeks to codify the tax exemption they already enjoy, for instance, for facilities that they use to store art and art facilities and housing for the workers that must work on the ground. So that's what the bill does. Thank you very much, and I can turn to my, not a witness, but he's here. Mr. Martin Lutz is here to answer questions. If the committee has questions, he's here as a resource person. Thank you.
Okay, are there any questions? Yep, Delegate Feldmark.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Delegate. I'm just curious, so this is a museum, and is it, I'm curious why it's not already exempt from property taxes. Is it a nonprofit?
Yes, so the way it works is because this is a huge museum, it's not just indoor, it's outdoor, it's like a huge complex, right, campus. They have like over 40 parcels of land. Each is considered a separate account. You have to apply for tax exemption.
Right, okay.
So most of them are exempt, but there are a few pieces that are used for environmental preservation that so far have been miscategorized as vacant when they are actually being dedicated to environmental work. Yeah.
And do they have some sort of conservation easement on them?
So those properties don't necessarily have a conservation easement on them, but they're being actively managed for forests and meadows and wildlife habitat. For example, a home will be deconstructed, the materials donated to organizations such as Habitat for Humanity or Second Chance, and then the grading the landscape is regraded to look completely natural, and trees, shrubs, and understory are all planted. To tie it in with the broader museum, and so these are individual parcels that are kind of on the outskirts, and Glenstone, being a young organization, is thinking in the long term, decades and centuries from now. And as the museum campus expands, it's when we're attaching these smaller 2-acre parcels to the 300-acre main campus that we will run into the challenge of whether that land is being actually used by the museum or whether it's vacant. And I would represent that it's being actively used for those environmental purposes.
Okay. Okay, thank you for the clarification. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That concludes the hearing on House Bill 1332. Delegate Fisher, House Bill 1160.
Well, good morning, Madam Chairwoman and members of the esteemed Ways and Means Committee. For the record, Delegate Mark Fisher presenting House Bill 1160, titled Calvert County Personal Property Tax Exemption. The bill exempts personal property in Calvert County from taxation. The bill takes effect June 1, 2025, and it's contingent on terms and receipt of a specified payment in lieu of taxes agreement. Effectively, what this bill does is it eliminates personal property tax for all businesses in the county except for personal property of a railroad, a public utility, fiber optic cables, cable wire systems, cell towers, wireless appurtenances, electronic instant bingo machines, and personal property that's already subject to a pilot, because obviously those agreements are in place. So all those things would still have to pay personal property. Everybody else, which really is the small businesses that are left in Calvert County, would not have to pay, but it would be contingent upon Calvert County entering into a pilot agreement with a data center. And the theory behind that, and I do think this is important just to explain it, but I do want to be cautious with your time. I know this is a hardworking committee, needless to say, is the county is looking to do a pilot agreement, and we're very happy with that, with a data center at the nuclear power plant. Obviously, the data center wants a pilot agreement because personal property taxes are so high. And they're also high for the small businesses. So the theory is once that is entered into, then we would relieve the rest of the small businesses in Calvert County of having to pay that, with the exception of the other items listed. The other items that were listed are listed in the actual bill for the purpose of me not having any kind of conflict of interest. Since I am in the cell tower business, my industry would still have to pay. That's why that's specifically listed. So with all that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, and you do know it's no longer morning. You said good morning.
This session has gone by so quickly.
It really has,
that
actually.
the days just are flying by.
You are accurate. Delegate Buckle.
Always morning in Mark Fisher's world.
That's right.
It's a brand new morning. No, this sounds great. So basically, if I can sum it up, it's a tax cut for small businesses, for Main Street, for mom and pops, and you're not going to lose any money from it because it only comes into effect if you get the big money from the big companies, bringing the big jobs and the big resources to your county where we'd love to see them succeed.
Yes, Delegate Buckle, and you'll appreciate this. In 2011, 2012, Calvert County entered into an agreement with the LNG plant.
Right.
For a pilot. And that ended up being, as you can imagine, a boatload of cash to the county and to the state, by the way. And that would have been the opportune moment to eliminate the business personal property tax. But the then county commissioners didn't do that. And so here's an opportunity to kind of correct that thing
Right.
that we, because as you know, once the money comes into the till, it's
Hard to get it back out.
indeed.
Yeah, okay, that sounds great. It makes a lot more sense. When I first looked at it, it makes a lot of sense. If it only happens if we get this big thing and we're going to give this cut to the kind of most deserving mom and pop taxpayers, and it doesn't hurt us at all. So
Thank you.
That's
And
great.
kudos to George Butler for doing such a great job, because it wasn't an
Always
easy job.
kudos.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
That concludes the hearing on House Bill 1160, House Bill 1270, Delegate Heinbaugh. Come on up. House Bill 1278.
What, is it my turn up, ma'am?
Yes,
Okay, I'm sorry. I got a little confused there on the numbers, so thank you.
that's okay.
Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the Ways and Means Committee, thank you for the opportunity to present House Bill 1278 for your consideration this afternoon. For the record, I am Delegate Jim Heinbaugh. I represent District 1A, which is all of Garrett County and the western part of Allegheny County. This is a local bill that I submitted at the request of the Board of Garrett County Commissioners. It's cross-filed as Senate Bill 763. If I could just boil this down to a few sentences, simply put, the purpose of this bill is to enable the county to collect the county's accommodations tax from internet-based vacation rental platforms, VRBO, HomeAway, Airbnb, those sorts of platforms. Garrett County currently has an 8% accommodations tax or a hotel tax. And it's basically a tax on rentals that are less than 30 days. And as you can imagine, because of Deep Creek Lake and the vacation rentals, this is a significant source of income for Garrett County. The 8% tax this year is expected to generate about $6 million in revenue. That money goes into restricted fund, which has to be used for the promotion of tourism and economic development. Currently, the internet-based rental companies do not collect or pay the tax. While the county doesn't know exactly how much revenue they're missing out on because of that, it could be a significant amount. What this legislation would do, if approved, would be to require those internet-based vacation rental platforms to collect and pay the 8% accommodations tax. Now, I am aware that there's a bill that would address this at the state level, and the county welcomes that initiative. When I talked to them about this, the county commissioners, county administrator, and a finance officer, their primary concerns seem to be what's the reasonable fee that the comptroller is going to charge. I know it's still to be sorted out, but the other question they had that I can't answer is when would the comptroller effectively begin collecting that revenue? So in closing, I respectfully request your favorable consideration. And subject to any questions you might have, that completes my presentation. Thank you for your time and for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much. Delegate Hartman.
First bill here.
You know what? I'm having a hard time hearing, so give me a second to read the closed caption. I know somebody's going to mess with me on this, so.
Well, he was here last session with this bill that we moved. Yeah. Delegate Buckle.
I just want to ask you, my friend, in all honesty, this isn't creating a new tax. It's not necessarily raising a tax rate.
It is not a new tax.
It's simply looking to say a category of economic activity that we all believe, I think, and Garrett County believes should already be captured within the hotel motel tax, gets captured and gets paid more effectively and efficiently.
And actually makes for a level playing field too, because now the local vacation rental companies, tailor-made Raley's, they collect this tax on the vacation rentals they do. So it puts them at a little bit of a competitive disadvantage when you look at the internet-based platforms that don't pay it, because 8% of houses there for a week sometimes rent for $3,000, $5,000, depending on the amenities that come with it. So it could be a significant amount of money.
And your local companies, like if I go up and rent from Raley Realty or tailor-made Deep Creek Lake Vacations, they already collect this for you, right? You're not trying to do something different and just capture. You're just trying to get everybody on the same playing field.
They collect it, and under the current policies, I know in the other bill it talks about municipalities. Currently, if the accommodations or hotel tax is collected in a municipality, the municipality gets to keep the money. And similar to, and for those that pay on time, they can get a 1.5% discount, a 1.5% discount based on the amount of money that they collect. It's, you know, it's really important that the county's trying to find every dollar they can, because everybody knows what kind of budget situation we're in, and as the county continues to pick up more cost, they're trying to find every penny in revenue that they can find.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can't believe you didn't pass this bill last year. It must be a sponsor problem. I don't know.
We did. We moved it. That's why it's sponsor only this year. Oh, yeah, I'm not sure.
I think it
Okay.
broke down on the Senate side
Oh,
last year.
inside Republican jokes. Okay.
I think maybe the most difficulty we had in here was we didn't have the delegation letter approving.
I was going to ask, did the delegation vote on this? And, okay. And was it unanimous?
It was, we had a lot of debate, but it ended up being a unanimous decision, so yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So if the statewide bill passed, would your delegation be okay with that?
The answer I got when I talked to the finance officer, county administrator, county commissioners was yes, but we're hopeful that the additional money that would be collected by this change would be enough to offset whatever the cost is from the comptroller to collect the tax.
Okay.
So again, I don't know what a reasonable fee is, but the statewide bill is something that, to answer your question directly, the statewide bill is something the county could live with.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, and, sorry you have those rough delegation meetings. Good luck with that. That concludes the hearing on House Bill 1278.
Thank you very much.
House Bill 1372, Delegate Weigel.
Kind of jealous of those Garrett County delegation meetings. Ours don't go quite as easy. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, and honorable members of Ways and Means. I am Delegate Weigel, pleased to present House Bill 1372, Washington County Notice of Tax Sale Alterations. The bill is a local bill and proposes to alter the manner in which tax sales are advertised, as well as imposing additional requirements on notices provided after the sale of the property. The language requires notice to be published 2 times in the newspaper, once per week in alternate weeks, and posting on the county's website 4 weeks prior to the sale. The language also requires the newspaper notice to include reference to the county's website, and additionally requires the website to be updated weekly. In addition, the language requires that a second notice be sent within 15 days of the first notice, notifying the property owner that their property has been sold to satisfy unpaid property taxes. Currently, only 1 notice is sent post-sale. You have a letter of support from the county's treasurer, where he also outlines his practice to make every attempt for property owners to redeem their property prior to tax sale. It has come to my attention that he may not have downloaded that to the system, so we will email that to each member, and we respectfully ask you provide a favorable report on House Bill 1372.
Okay, questions? Delegate Buckle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So my friend, the Washington County Commissioner's letter that was in there, you have an explanation of that, right? Like the county's not, you're not adverse to it.
So they're a little scared of, I guess there's a lawsuit in Baltimore City. I've glanced at that lawsuit. I think the facts and circumstances are a little different. I think Baltimore City was doing strictly online with everything, and they were conducting online auctions of the property. We sell our property live in front of the courthouse, so I think the facts and circumstances are a little different. They were fearful of being sued if they reduced the number of advertisements, but I think you also have a bill or will have had a bill or will have a bill with the Register of Wills asking for basically the same thing that we're asking for.
There seem to be a decent amount of counties that have less than 4. Baltimore City. The process you're advocating for is not exactly the similar to Baltimore City, but it's pretty close. And then the other question I had is, if the bill can move, do you have an objection? The Allegheny County delegation has been requested, although not formalized yet, from the Allegheny County commissioners, obverse to your commissioners for some reason, to actually join in this process. Do you have a problem with us glomming on to you?
We would not.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, thank you. That concludes the hearing on House Bill 1372. House Bill 1333, Delegate Weigel.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. Again, Delegate Weigel presenting House Bill 1333, Washington County Property Tax Credit for Disabled Veterans Eligibility. The statute authorizes a county to grant a property tax credit on the legal residence of an honorably discharged disabled veteran or their surviving spouse. This bill is simply clarifying in nature, as it deletes reference to active military, naval, or air service in the statute itself, and instead refers to the uniformed services in the U.S. Code. The bill basically codifies current practice. The legislation has the support of the county delegation, county commissioners, and the Washington County Treasurer, who advanced the bill. We respectfully request a favorable report on House Bill 1333.
Okay, Delegate Long.
Question, we had a situation come up with something like this, and actually spelled out spouse. Is that going to create a problem? Because actually a lot of people weren't married to wasn't married to the person.
That's actually, that surviving spouse is an existing code, and I believe it further clarifies that they have to be in that residence at the time of death of the veteran, so.
So spouse doesn't cause a problem, it couldn't, I'm just.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That concludes the hearing on House Bill 1333. House Bill 1200, Delegate Valentine, and Bruce Bariano is signed up in favor, but I do not see him.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Chair Atterbury, Vice Chair Wilkins, and members of the House Ways and Means Committee. For the record, Delegate William Valentine, District 2A, representing Washington and Frederick counties. Thank you for the opportunity to present House Bill 1200 today. This bill seeks to expand the current property tax credit available to law enforcement officers and rescue workers to include judicial officers, as well as surviving spouses and cohabitants of judicial officers. This bill provides flexibility to local governments by using and defining the term public safety officers and expands the definition to include our correctional officers. Authorizing this tax credit would recognize the importance of ensuring the well-being of surviving spouses and cohabitants. It acknowledges the financial challenges they face after the loss of a loved one who served in such vital roles throughout our communities, and that such a loss can be overwhelming both emotionally as well as financially. These proposed additions to our, quote, fallen heroes property tax credit will provide relief during what is undoubtedly an incredibly difficult time. This is enabling legislation that allows individual counties in Baltimore City to move forward and add these additional officers as judicial officers at their discretion. House Bill 1200 is designated cross-file Senate Bill 502. It was passed unanimously in the Senate last week. And although this is not a delegation bill, members will notice in their floor systems that a letter of support was authored by the Washington County Commissioners who would like to have the ability to implement this legislation. I respectfully ask for a favorable report.
Okay, any questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That concludes the hearing on House Bill 1200. Delegate Young, House Bill 1178.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Delegate Young, 45th District, here in support of House Bill 1178. It's a Baltimore City-specific bill. It is supported by the city delegation and the mayor's administration. The bill is very simple. As you all know, Baltimore City is a city and municipality, but it is treated just like a county. And as a result, we have a very flat set tax rate across the entire city, 2.248%, which is double, roughly, everywhere else in the state. And as a result, we struggle at times with economic development. It's a significant burden on our homeowners. And so what this bill seeks to do is to remove the barriers under the law that prevent the city from being able to set special tax rates like every other municipality in the state. If you go to certain municipalities, particularly I can think of some, especially in Prince George's County, where the municipality is able to set that special rate and as a result also provide special services depending on which municipality you're in. You can go to certain municipalities and get snow removal, get leaf removal, things like that. And as a result of that additional cost, those residents are able to get an additional service. Well, in Baltimore City, you've got circumstances like downtown Baltimore, where you'll have street sweeping 2 times a week, but when you get uptown, it's only 1 time a week. And so you have this incongruency of service delivery, but everybody has to pay the same rate. And so the goal, again, is to allow the city council to be able to engage in the conversation about what our tax structure in the city looks like, to make sure that it can be a bit more of a better bang for the buck for our residents, also opening up opportunities for revenue generation for the city where appropriate. But again, the goal is to give the city the opportunity and give them the authority to be able to make these decisions and have these conversations and getting the state out of the way of being able to do that. That's the bill, and I ask for a favorable report.
Okay, are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. That concludes the hearing on House Bill 1178. Delegate Young, House Bill 1189.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Once again, Kaylin Young, Delegate Young, 45th District here in support of House Bill 1189, another bill supported by our delegation and our administration. This bill is very similar but much more narrow. It builds on last year's work that Delegate Boyce did, where we were able to authorize Baltimore City to do special tax rates specifically for vacant properties. So the bills are similar The previous bill is a more blanket, broader authority that we're giving to the city. But in the absence of that, we're still trying to tackle specific things. Last year was vacants. This year is still a piece of vacants, but more specifically, properties in this regard that are owned by nonprofits, some of them anchor institutions, that have been determined to be taxable by SDAT, but they may be vacant or defunct or not productive properties. So I've got properties in my district where you got an anchor institution that owns both sides of the street. These properties are assessed at $7,000 of value, and therefore the tax burden on that anchor institution is $157.36 annually on both sides of the street for each property. That's depressing property values in our district. That's increasing the burden on the property taxes for homeowners in our district. And so what this bill seeks to do is simply say that after 3 years, the city council can pass a bill such that if a property is owned by a nonprofit and is being taxed at these lower rates because it's defunct, because it's non-productive. In the same way that we did last year for the vacants, we want to give the council the ability to raise the taxes on those properties up to 10 times what they're currently being taxed, because we need these properties to be productive. And again, we need to relieve our homeowners of the tax burden, the higher tax burden that we already have in Baltimore City. So again, it's supported by the delegation, supported by the administration. I ask for a favorable report, Madam Chair.
Okay, any questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That concludes the hearing on House Bill 1189. House Bill 1214, Delegate Long.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A lot of this testimony is going to go, will fit both of the bills that I have here today.
So would you like to just talk about 1214 and
Yes, ma'am.
1410? Okay, go ahead.
This is a bill, for the record, Delegate Bob Long. This is HB 1214. This is a way of financing. We're trying to come up with an idea how we can get first-time home buyers back into the market. One of the things that happens is when you buy a house that's been occupied by the owner for 20 years, property taxes are very low. Once you purchase that property, you want to pay whatever the sales price was. We're trying to hold it down for 3 years, give them a 3-year breathing period where they can buy a house and assessed value will stay the same. This will help first-time home buyers that's having trouble coming up with first payments, as far as taxes and stuff. This would help motivate them for buying houses. The bottom line is that if this is not implemented, if this is implemented, I don't think that you're going to see any decrease in taxes, because by the time you sell the house and the people move in, and after 3 years, it'll gradually go back up. This is creative financing. When I say creative financing, it's something I always looked at, is how to do things with what you had to deal with. We know the budget's tight, and I just know that this would help motivate first-time home buyers. I don't know how old anyone here was when he bought their first house. I was 18 or 19 when I bought my first house. I was very fortunate to be able to buy my first house. Nowadays, it's like 30 or 35 or 40 years old because of the cost of buying a house. I'm very proud that my grandson just bought his first house, 26 years old. Worked hard, saved his money, and he bought his first house. He listened to his grandfather, I guess. But anyway, this would help first-time home buyers, and they wouldn't get hit with the property tax assessment all at one time. It would gradually be brought in a 3-year period. And it's creative financing, and we don't want to hurt the budget. The only thing we want to do is just motivate buyers to come back into the market. We need the first-time home buyers. If we don't have those, then people buying the next house or moving up, they can't sell it. It's just a matter of keeping our economy going. And anyway, I would ask for a favorable vote. And if there's
Okay, are there questions on either 1214 or 1410? Okay, thank you, Delegate Long, for that. And committee, you all are not going to know what to do with yourselves. We are finished. So you get a little breather. That is, we will be voting. We have a short list for tomorrow, and then we're going to have to vote again on Monday. Probably Monday, just